So here we have a brand new Cortex instance that I have just provisioned. And to show you how quickly you can get up going with Cortex, the first step one, is to set up the integrations. So let's go to settings, and then under on the navigation menu on the left here, we'll select integrations. And as you can see, we have many integrations. At the time of this recording is just over 50, and likely to be lots more by the time you watch this video. But to get started, you should have a Git provider, a cloud provider, and an identity provider. So GitHub's going to be my Git provider, so we'll start with that. We have a GitHub application, so all you have to do is click on install, and then this window will come up. So here I'm going to move it so you can see it. And it's pretty easy. All I'm going to do is click on configure here. And all you got to do is select the account or organization that you want this to apply to. So I'm going to put in my Cramerica demo organization. Select it to all repositories, but note that you have the option to do only selected ones. And I'm just going to click on here and install and authorize the permissions. Notice that you can also use a personal access token, and you can also create a custom app as well if you want to adjust some of those permissions. But we're keeping it easy here, going with the default application. Next, let's go to our cloud provider. So in this case, I'm going to use AWS. So to set up this integration, I'm going to click on this button, Add AWS Configuration, and here provides us with instructions on how to create a policy as well as a role in AWS, which I have already done. So I'm going to go ahead and already enter my account ID and the role I created following those instructions. And I'm going to click on Save. So to make sure I set it up correctly, I'm going to click on Test All Configurations. And it's working. Perfect. Great. So now I need my identity provider. So this is more for SSO. So in other words, I want to be able to use my network credentials, so I can log into Cortex. So I'll click on OpenID Connector. And here we support several ones. For this video, we're going to use Okta. And already set up, just like in GitHub, we have an Okta app that you can install as well. And here's the client ID and the secret ID from that application, from that app. And there's the URL for my provider. So my OpenID setup is finished. So the last thing I want to do, if I go back to integrations here, you'll see that the active integrations only shows my cloud provider and my Git provider. My identity provider doesn't show. And that is because we need to set it up for under Okta. We have it set up for SSO, but now what we want to do is set it up so we can import your teams and who belongs to which team. So this is going to be very important when it comes to ownership. And for this, all you need is your API token and the URL of your Okta instance. So we'll save that, and since I have a test configuration button, let's click on it and see what happens. Oh, it works. Perfect. So now we're ready to start hydrating our catalog. So let's start with the services catalog. So we'll click on Import Services. Looks like AWS and GitHub are ready to go. So I'll click on Continue. And I don't see anything, so I'm going to click on Sync Services. Notice down here, there's the Create New Service manually. So you can also create your own from scratch. Here you see some stuff from AWS. Looks like a Lambda function and some repositories from GitHub. Organization. So I'm going to go ahead and select just a couple of these repositories from my organization to get started. So we'll add these 3 repos as services. And now that we have this here, let's add a resource. So we haven't covered this, but a service is an entity that contains your code. So think of it like a Lambda function, a microservice, right? A resource here that we're pulling from AWS is a service that's running in ECS. It's just a sample container that's running in ECS. But you can also import, for example, RDS database, an S3 bucket. We also support Google Cloud and Azure. So here we can see our resource with details from AWS API, and as well as deployment details. So now, if we go back to our service one of the services that we imported, so this came from GitHub, so that means there's some information about the repository, like the language, the commit history. But now, maybe we want to add an owner. So to do that, we're going to add teams, and that's the other kind of catalog entity that we're going to import an entity from using our integrations. So here my engineering team is coming from Okta, so I'm going to import it. And by importing my team from Okta, what it will do is it will populate the teams for me, the team members. So if you click on members here, you'll see that automatically all my team's members have come over. Cortex has an integration where it will constantly sync with Okta or your provider for groups. Could be GitHub Teams, could be Workday, and others. But we'll keep that list of members in sync. So if I go back to a service, for example, I'm going to now set that team as the owner. Select that team. And now that I've assigned that team to be the owner of this service, if the members move from team to another team, or there's new members into the team, you don't have to maintain that in Cortex, because when I click on engineering, I will always get the latest list of people from Okta, and that will save me a lot of time by automating this. So you'll always have the accurate ownership information in Cortex. Okay, so now let's add more information, one more integration to populate this more. So let's add, let's say now we want to show some tickets from Jira. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to settings. I'm going to go back to integrations, and this time I'm going to select Jira. I have a demo instance of Jira, my own instance, so I'm going to already have set up an API token, so I'm just going to grab it, and we're going to put it here. And the domain is just going to be the from the URL of your Jira instance, so we'll go ahead and put that. Okay, we'll save that. Test the integration. Okay. Now, since I have a label in Jira for my tickets that match my service name, I don't need to do anything else. I'll just go to integrations, I'll click on Jira tickets, and my tickets automatically show up, just because my label matched my service name. So that's it. That's how we see you set up data with Cortex.